All right, diversity champions. I hope you had an amazing and productive weekend. Spring is here, and I just got done doing some spring cleaning myself. And I just wanted to remind everyone of how refreshing and important it is to reorganize your space. So don't forget to get your spring cleaning done, okay? So it looks like we're moving right along. We are already in week 3. But before we do some forecasting, I would like to touch base on Unit 2. Great job on applying the different communication methods presented in the text, such as the contact hypothesis, the cultural simulator, and communication methods like innovation and creativity, and applying them to a specific organization. Remember to keep them in mind for your midterm presentations as well as your final team projects. So I did want to highlight this week's book club. Christina, Ashley, and Shadim, you all did a wonderful job summarizing and reflecting on this specific chapter, Beware of Noah's Ark, right? Christina, you made a valid point when applying the reading from your own retail environment. This is a very typical situation, right? On one hand, you have management who wants to be more open, but on the other hand, behavior shows differently. Without the proper awareness, as Christina was mentioning, the company won't be able to evolve, right? Its leaders need to evolve first. So the question becomes, how can we make these managers slash leaders, right, aware that they are in fact not being as inclusive as they think that they are, right? Shadim, you brought up a great point when you said people aren't going to change unless they feel like they have to, right? That was a point that was made continuously throughout the chapter. And so back to Christina's situation, if there is no sense of urgency for them to change, right, then their mindset is not going to change and they're going to continue to act accordingly, right? So I really enjoyed reading Shadeen's reflection on how we respond to different individuals. So I'm just going to pull that up really quickly. And I just want to read one line that I thought was really impactful. It was interesting to read that the issues with diversity aren't necessarily due to a disdain for other people, but moreover due to our dealings with different as a total idea, right? As a total idea. So going back to cognitive diversity. And Ashley, I really love how you brought up how we respond drastically in two different ways when we're dealing with one person that we like and we don't like, right? Our behaviors are completely different. The situation can be exactly the same, but yet we seem to empathize more with the people that we love despite them doing the same things, right? And this also creates those in and out groups, Ashley, that you were referring to as well. So I really like the insights that you guys all brought this week. So great job on our group leaders this week, and I really hope that you all are enjoying the book. Okay? So week 3. Week 3 is all about strengthening your interpersonal awareness and relational eloquence. All right? So what does that mean? Well, we need to gain a stronger understanding of ourselves and appreciate our own diversity, right? Um, and we already began doing this within our first intro discussion when we looked at the cultural dimensions, right? Most of you related to personality. But once we gain this deeper awareness of ourselves, we can then understand how we contribute to others' experiences, right? So, what are this week's readings? We have the Furman and Dean text, right? And we have chapters 3 and 4. Really, really great chapters. All right. One thing I would like you all to pay close attention to is in chapter 4, figure 4.4 on Suzanne's and Rosa's model. It brings insight on how we all have different perspective and priorities and ultimately obviously act differently. But where does that come from? Why do we act differently? And going back to the dimensions, we all even though you all related mostly to personality, we all have a different personality, right? And if let's say two of us related to the same two dimensions, well, one of them is going to be more dominant for me than the other, and that's how I'm going to view the world, and that's going to shape my interactions, right? So we have to be aware of this. Okay. All right. So we have the Loudest Duck again. We have our book club, and we'll be reading chapter 2. And we also have some optional videos here. All right. So what is our first assignment? Our first assignment is about accepting and expressing one's whole self at work. So it's focusing on chapter 3, and you're going to be answering, right? So this is an individual discussion. What is meant by your whole self, right? How does it connect to diversity and inclusion? How can people assess and use more of this relevant selves at work, right? How can they use it? How can they access it, right? And the next point that you guys are going to be making, right? Because you have 3 things to do here. The second thing is interview one of your co-workers or colleagues on exploring their best whole selves at work. Ask him or her the questions on Furman and the Dean text, page 113, okay, 113, and report a summary of that interview. I really love seeing what comes out of those interviews. Trust me, if you haven't gotten into this class yet, you're definitely going to get into it when you do this assignment. All right. And I always love hearing what you guys feel, right, and think about the readings. So this is, again, optional, but feel free to add some of your thoughts and feelings. All right. Now, we have our second assignment. This is fostering diversity through interpersonal awareness. And this is, again, more of an individual assignment, so there aren't any team projects or team assignments this week, right? And what you'll be answering is, as an HR practitioner, leader, or an IO psychologist, right? So choose one position. What would you do to ensure that the organization's environment supports diversity and inclusion? What are the key competencies and tools, frameworks, and practices? So just name a few. It could be 2 to 3, right? It doesn't have to be a mouthful of all of them, but definitely point a couple that really resonate with you, that are needed for people to engage effectively across differences so as to leverage diversity for mutual benefit. Okay? And again, there's always a sound off. All right? And lastly, we have our book club. This week we'll be reading chapter 2 again, and that's The Elephant and the Mouse. All right. And I believe we have 3 readers this week. We have Camiria, Brittany, and Yolanzo. Okay, so I look forward to your summaries and reflections as well. And just a quick reminder, everyone, we do have some deadlines. So we are in week 3. So notice that your first discussion is due on Wednesday, March 27th, an hour before midnight here. And on Saturday, next Saturday, you have your second discussion and your book club reflections and summaries due. Okay? So that pretty much wraps up week 2 and week 3. And I just wanted to also let everyone know that I will be traveling at the end of this week. I'm going to be conducting a workshop, a team building workshop for FDA inspectors. So that should be fun. And so it starts on Thursday. So my communication may be a little bit slim. However, I am still going to be responding. It just may not be right away, okay? But if anything, if there are any emergencies, please feel free again to text me. And again, have a great night and have a great start to your week.